Mia has 4 tabs open. One is the report she's supposed to be writing. One is her email, refreshing itself every 90 seconds like it's waiting for permission to interrupt her. One is a half-read article she'll never finish. And one is just open for no reason she can name. She's been working for 2 hours. She has written 11 sentences. She deletes 4 of them and starts again. Maybe you've never counted the tabs, but you know the feeling, that low hum of being busy without ever quite landing anywhere. Sitting down to do one thing and somehow doing 6 things badly instead of one thing well. Ending the day exhausted, with nothing you can point to and say, "I made that." Here's the part that might surprise you. This isn't a discipline problem. You have not failed at focus. You've been trying to solve a wiring problem with willpower, and willpower was never built for that job. Long before neuroscientists had the vocabulary for attention, Japanese thought had already mapped the terrain. Not through hustle, not through forcing the mind to behave, but through training it the way you'd train a muscle, patiently and on purpose. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your brain treats a new notification like a shot of dopamine and a half-finished task like an open wound it can't stop touching, and you'll have 5 ways of working with that wiring instead of against it. The last one is the quiet one, the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the piece that makes the other 4 actually stick. Before we get into it, if any of this is landing, do the small thing that helps more than people realize. Tap like and subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it puts this in front of someone else who's sitting at their own 4 open tabs right now. Okay, let's get into it. For years the advice has been the same. Just focus harder. Turn off your phone. Use more discipline. And for years, most people have quietly failed at it, then blamed themselves for failing. But here's the mechanism nobody explained to you. Your brain isn't built to hold 2 active goals at once without a cost. Every time you switch from the report to the email and back, your brain doesn't cleanly swap files the way a computer does. It drags a residue of the last task with it, a kind of mental static that eats into how sharply you can think about the new one. You weren't lacking willpower. You were paying a tax on every single switch, and nobody ever told you the tax existed. ZAZEN, seated meditation, is where a lot of this begins, and it's misunderstood almost as often as it's practiced. People assume it's about clearing the mind, going blank. It isn't. It's about sitting with one single object of attention, the breath, usually, and gently, without frustration, returning to it every single time it wanders. That return is the entire exercise. Researcher Cal Newport, who spent years studying people capable of sustained, high-value focus, found something quietly radical. The ability to concentrate deeply isn't a fixed trait you either have or don't. It behaves like a trainable capacity, one that atrophies with constant switching and strengthens with deliberate, repeated practice at holding one thing. Tonight, before you open your laptop, sit for 2 minutes and do nothing but notice your breath, and when your mind drifts, bring it back without scolding yourself for drifting. There's a related idea in Japanese martial and meditative tradition called fudoshin, the immovable mind. It doesn't mean rigid or stiff. It means a mind so settled in its own priorities that outside disturbance can move around it without moving it. Think about what a phone buzzing on the desk actually does to you physiologically. Researcher Gloria Mark, who has spent 2 decades studying attention in real offices, found that after an interruption it can take the better part of half an hour to return to the same depth of focus you had before it. Half an hour from one buzz. Fudoshin isn't about resisting the urge to check it through sheer grit. It's about removing the disturbance from the room entirely, so there's nothing to resist in the first place. Tonight's shift, put the phone in a different room while you do the one thing that matters, not just face down beside you. Then there's Mushin, no mind, often described in archery and swordsmanship as the state where the archer stops thinking about the target and simply becomes the shot. What that actually describes, in plainer language, is a mind free of unfinished business. Researcher Sophie Leroy calls this attention residue. When you leave a task incomplete and jump to the next one, part of your cognitive attention stays tangled up in the thing you didn't finish, quietly reducing how present you are for the new task. Mushin isn't achieved by trying harder to be present. It's achieved by closing loops, finishing or deliberately parking a task before moving on, so there's no residue left dragging behind you. Tonight, before you switch tasks, spend 10 seconds writing down exactly where you left off, so your mind can actually let it go instead of carrying it silently. Tanren is a word used in traditional craft and martial training for forging through repetition. Not talent, not inspiration, just the same motion practiced with full attention thousands of times until it becomes effortless. It sounds unglamorous, and it's supposed to. Researcher Anders Ericsson spent his career studying what actually separates elite performers from everyone else, and it wasn't raw talent. It was sustained, deliberate, single-focused repetition on one skill at a time, never several at once. Multitasking doesn't just cost you speed. It quietly blocks the kind of practice that makes you genuinely better at anything. Tonight's shift. Pick the one task you most avoid, and give it one uninterrupted 20-minute block, protected from everything else, even if the work itself is unglamorous. Finally, there's Kime, a term from martial arts describing the decisive, focused commitment behind a single strike. Not a flurry of half-committed movements, one movement, fully committed. Researcher John Sweller, who studies how much a mind can actually hold and process at once, found that every option left open, every extra tab, every "I'll just quickly check," draws down a limited pool of mental resources before you've done a single second of real work. Kime is the discipline of cutting the options down to one before you begin, not while you're in the middle of it. Tonight's shift. Before you start, close everything except the one thing you're doing. Not minimized. Closed. Here's the only thing you actually need to do tonight, and it's smaller than it sounds. Before your next work session, put your phone in another room and sit for 2 minutes doing nothing but noticing your breath. That's it. Not a new app, not a new system, not a morning routine overhaul. It feels almost too easy, and that's exactly the point. The smallness isn't a compromise, it's the mechanism. A mind trained on tiny, repeatable moments of single attention builds the capacity for longer ones. Big, dramatic overhauls collapse under their own weight within a week. Small, boring, repeatable ones compound quietly until one day you look up and you're just someone who focuses now. Mia still has a laptop with a browser. But these days there's usually one tab open, sometimes two. Her phone lives in the kitchen while she works. The 11 sentences she once wrote in 2 exhausted hours now take her 20 focused minutes, and she doesn't delete 4 of them afterward. She's not a different person. She just stopped paying the switching tax on every thought she had. Comment the word forged right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it's your public commitment that tonight is the night your phone goes in another room while you work. Send this to the friend who has 4 tabs open right now telling you they'll focus better tomorrow for the 4th week running. And if you're the kind of person who wants to understand not just what to do but why your own mind works this way, this channel is where you'll keep finding that.